Hello listeners, producer Persephone here. As you listen to this piece, we want to remind you that what you're hearing is the discussion of the City Council, including our Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem, who run our city. These are the people who make decisions that impact our city, whose jobs, whose elected responsibilities, are to make difficult choices. For the better, for the worse, for all in between. This story is an instance of a group of young activists presenting their concern to the only body of government they can turn to. What you are going to hear is how that body of government responds. Remember that, for now, and for when it's time to pick who leads our city in the future. To cue us into our story, here's Mike Thornton, reporter for KFUG Community News.
Monday evening, a group of local young people came before the Crescent City Council asking for help. They wanted the Crescent City Council to pass a so-called Tobacco Retail Relicensing Process that would assist in protecting young people from the dangers of tobacco use and vaping. There was a lengthy presentation, and KFUG's Grant Meriwether is working on a report for that. But today, we wanted to bring you the entire Crescent City Council's discussion and debate of this important issue. Crescent City Mayor Jason GREENOUGH.
I guess I'll open up the discussion for the council. Do we have any discussion on what we would like to see happen going forward? I have made my position pretty clear. I think that it's we're jumping ahead of the cart a little bit with this. I want to thank everyone for their public comments tonight. It takes guts to step up here and state your opinion, your belief. But I must respectfully disagree on this particular item. Maybe there are some things that city can do to kind of curb some of this, whether it's like it was stated before, make it illegal to sell to someone who has a minor with them. I don't know, that might be something to look into, or something having to do with signage and advertising. That is something that the city does regulate currently. And it doesn't seem like it would be difficult for us to draft something along those lines. I don't want to be the only person talking either, so I'd like to hear kind of from the rest of the council a little bit. There's 4 other people here, 4 other voices on this council.
I guess I'll be the bad guy too. I don't really agree with this at all. Somebody who is of age and has the right to choose, by us, if we were to do this, we would be infringing on their choices. Also, the business owners, they jump through hoops, so we're gonna tell them, oh, by the way, now you jump through the hoops through the state, but in the city of Crescent City, you can't sell that. And no way do I condone kids. I've got kids at the high school too. And no way do I condone kids using tobacco or smoke. And if you can't, again, it is a school problem. It's not a city problem. I've heard several public comments say that. And if it's that big of a school problem, that needs to be dealt with. I do agree with them on that. But yeah, I just think it's just not right now. We are coming out of a pandemic. People they're gonna go get it somewhere else.
Well, I'll speak up. I disagree with both of you, Councilmember Smith, Councilmember GREENOUGH. I think there's a bigger responsibility. We regulate all kinds of things. We regulate everything. So the idea that somehow regulation is bad and we shouldn't have regulation. We have an entire fee structure of all the things that we regulate in the city. From, we have a cost for how much we'll charge you to make a copy at City Hall. So the bottom line is we have to look at this from the standpoint of, do we have a greater responsibility in protecting the health of our citizens than does big tobacco have the right to try to make money in our community? And if you guys don't see it that way, I'll respect your opinions. But the bottom line is you're defending the right for big business to make money at the expense of the health of our citizens. And we know that. There's no doubt that that's what they're doing. They're making billions of dollars at the cost of our health. We've known that for years. It's why we don't see cigarette commercials on TV anymore. The clear understanding has been that tobacco is not something that's good for the health of our citizens. This is an opportunity for us to weigh in and side with our youth here and say, we hear what you're saying. We hear we know that education is not getting it done, and we have an opportunity to at least stem a portion of this, but by getting rid of things like bubblegum flavored vapes. It just doesn't seem like if we want to defend big business at the expense of our students, then that's fine. But that's exactly what we're doing. We can't put this off and say, well, it's the parents' fault. Well, it's the school's fault. Well, the reality is, I'm not going to argue with that. The school is responsible. The parents are responsible. But so are us who have been elected, and we have an opportunity to make an impact that would benefit our community. Any research will tell you that the less access of tobacco products in a community will add to their health. Yes, some people will drive up to Brookings. I get it for these products. But even as Larry Tempe said, as a person who's been a smoker, he's not going to stop smoking because of this. But if we can avoid that next 13-year-old from starting, I can't believe that we're not at least willing to consider what that looks like and our responsibility. I'm a firm yes on a tobacco retail license. And if we can't do that, if you guys can at least see that value, then at the very least, we need to enact an ordinance to ban flavored tobacco in the city limits. But I think that should be part of the tobacco retail license, not a standalone decision. But that's where I stand on it. It's a health issue, and it's a future issue for me. And I'm not here to defend big business. I'm here to defend the people who live in our city.
Okay.
Difference.
All right. Well, I'm not here to protect big business. What I am here to do is to encourage good decision making where the decision starts, and that is with the individual. And you pointing your finger at us stating we're trying to protect big business doesn't get anything accomplished, because that's not what I'm doing.
Neither does starting the whole conversation with a no. You were a no, Mayor GREENOUGH, before Amber even did her presentations. So if you want to talk about not helping the conversation, to state your point before the presentation was even going. So I understand your point. I do understand your point. I just don't understand why you can't see anybody else's.
I've weighed other people's points of view. I've been in these tobacco prevention ad hoc meetings. I have weighed them.
Okay.
So the fact that you're saying I haven't isn't a fair representation of my view. So what I will say is, what would you like to ban next, council member INSCORE? Would you like to ban flavored, I don't know, marijuana, candy marijuana? Would you like to ban flavored alcoholic beverages? Because all these things exist in the city of Crescent City, and these are all utilized by people. And adults, they have to show their ID. And I'm sure that some of that stuff gets into kids' hands.
Sure.
So where do we begin and where do we stop with this? This is my concern. I mean, there are things that we do in our society that are legal that we do not like. I agree. I would like to see them disappear, but that doesn't give us the right always to just outright ban them or remove them from society. So I'll let Council Member Altman speak. He's been raising his hand, and then Mayor Pro Tem Wright.
I'll keep it short because this has been a long one. I think although I do appreciate your guys' division and banter, it's great. I think we're missing the main point here is Amber's group is a great example of activism. We need to recognize that, and that our youth is actually getting involved, participating. You guys are all activists. It's awesome. I love to see that. And that's the way our youth should be brought up. And in my opinion on the whole tobacco issue, is just like donuts, candy, or fast food or junk food or whatever else. It all stems in the family, in the home. And it always will stem from that. And there's nothing to do. We can't do anything about that. We can't send SS troopers to each house and destroy homes because we don't like the way they raise their children or the freedoms that they enjoy. And we can't ban donuts and candy just because it's available and this and that. But we do appreciate activism and participation, and we have to respect that. And if that's what the people want us to do, that's what we need to consider. So that's what's on the table, is who is involved, who's getting involved, who's participating. You know, we've had a very long discussion tonight about this. It's taken up a lot of time. So that's just what I wanted to say to the council. And I wanted to say thank you to Amber and her group. You kids are awesome. Keep up the good work and stand for what you believe in, okay? You guys are doing great. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Altman. Mayor Pro Tem Wright, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I got a couple of things to add. I kind of piggybacking a little bit on what Councilmember Altman said, and just, we have adults that aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. All it takes is one, essentially, to get Juuls and to get vapes into the people's hands. And you know, I have a lot of high schoolers in my life, a lot of middle schoolers too, and it's used pretty widely. And if not this, how do we quite do it? That would be the question. If we did do this, I wouldn't want to see a cost to our businesses. I don't want to see extra costs put on top of our local businesses. That would be the one thing. The other thing, I brought this up to Amber before. If we pass something like this and the county doesn't, then we're just going to be punishing our local city retailers when they could literally just drive, a mile down the road to the county and get something. And then the other thing we need to definitely consider is that there is a referendum on the November 8th ballot that's going to be coming out banning. So I kind of would probably rather focus on signage, because I think living here in California, I think that's the referendum on that next ballot is going to pass. That's kind of where I was at, and I was thinking signage for sure, placement even.
So in that vein, since you brought that up, so what kind of thing are you thinking? Less signage on the front of the building? What kind of signage, or do you just want to send this to staff to see what they come up with? I mean, I don't think that's fair to our staff.
Yeah, that would be quite the task to take on.
We should be a little more pointed on our what we would like to see done. Or we could agendize this for a future meeting, think about it, and bring it back as far as the signage piece goes, if the council so desires.
I mean, we already regulate, we're talking about signage for vaping products. What do we need? People that want these things, what do they need signage for?
It's I guess advertisement.
That's what I'm saying. Like people that are what they want, they already know what they want. I remember going shopping with my grandpa way back in the day, and he'd say, "Oh, pack a Marble 155s or whatever their number was," and he didn't even look for them. He just knew that they would carry them because they were his, kind of thing. People are going for, well, what do they need countertop signage for? Is what I'm kind of getting at here. And obviously it's more of a rhetorical, but not at the same time, not a rhetorical question. I don't need necessarily an answer from y'all. I'm just saying.
I guess just as a comment, that's part of the rationale of having a TRL. You can customize it as extensive as you want, or as narrowly defined as you want. That license could simply address the things that are the most important. If the only things that the council felt were important were removing signage from those prominent areas at eye level for children, that they couldn't do that, and flavors, you could narrow a TRL. That otherwise you're trying to enact individual ordinances for each thing. That's the whole point behind this. It does not have to include everything that was given to us in that sample. So that's part of the rationale.
Sorry for interrupting you, Councilmember ENSCORE.
No, I was done.
So you said that, because I was kind of a no coming into this too, and then I was a for sure no after listening to it. And you said that, I don't know if you said it, but it kind of felt like you said Mayor GREENOUGH was trying to protect big business or big tobacco.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, and I'm not saying that Mayor GREENOUGh or you are protecting it. My point is that to make that argument that somehow we need to let business do whatever business wants to do, to let the market control this.
Okay.
To let the market control this, in essence, is letting big business control it.
So when is too much overreach from our local government?
That's a great question. That's a question that we're trying to answer. I mean, we answer those questions. I remember the first time I was posed with that question when I was a planning commissioner and we had too many liquor license already, right? But a new business came in and they wanted to be able to sell alcohol. And it was like, do we grant them a hardship exemption to sell alcohol, even though we're already oversaturated?
And yet we don't have a nightlife for our 20-somethings that live here in Crescent City. They have to go out of town for that right now.
Yeah, when this was a retail license, but
no, I get what you're saying, but just, I mean, you live here in Crescent City as well.
Sure.
So there we are right now. We don't even have a nightlife for our 20-somethings that live here already. And now we're just trying to, it feels like we're kind of over, to me, it feels like we're overstepping our bounds with even considering this.
I hear you. I hear what you're saying. I just, again, and it's not a personal thing towards the mayor or you, Councilmember Smith. It is obviously it's a different philosophical view on the responsibility that government has. And government has a responsibility to regulate things. We regulate everything, and you ask the question, when is it too far? I don't know that I can answer that. But when we're talking about the future and the health of young people, and when you look at the statistics of what this is doing to young people, I'm sorry. I appreciate you guys' opinion, but I don't think this is too far. I don't. The volume of nicotine that these kids are getting in one of these jewel pens or these vape pens is just, it's just, this is not what it was when I was a kid, you know, when you were sneaking, you know, a cigarette. This is not the same thing. And it concerns me. And so, again, please do not think, Mayor, I apologize if you thought that this was an attack on you or Councilmember Smith. That's not, I'm simply sharing my opinion. And I feel very strongly about it. And it's not a market issue to me. It's a health issue. And that's how I feel.
So I said this in the ad hoc committee meetings that we had with Amber. You know, she gave a lot of data. She gave a lot of good information, but us as a local government, it's not our job to parent these kids.
I agree.
It's their parents' job.
I agree.
That's all I have on this. Thank you.
And I'll just kind of piggyback off that. It really feels like we're going to try and parent parents by limiting their choices.
Yeah. I hear you.
One more thing. We haven't been listening to more than an hour of a group that's promoting smoking. We've been listening to the little tiny group that's fighting the monster, that just is asking for us a little bit of help. Can we just give them a little bit of help? Say that we're going to try something, just a little bit, just to take necessary and appropriate action regarding, consider the creation of a tobacco license policy. We can't just put that on the table and just asking us to consider it.
So, Mayor Pro Tem Wright came up with the idea of possibly increasing the amount of regulations that we put on advertising. Is that something that the council would like to discuss at a future meeting? We can take this piecemeal if we can't get the TRL involved. I mean, these are things that we already do, things that we can get accomplished, even if the TRL doesn't happen. Does the council have any appetite to discuss individual items like that?
I would like to.
It's not enough from my standpoint, Mayor. And so with that, I'm going to make a motion that we direct staff to work with the appropriate agencies to bring back a draft TRL, including a flavor ban for the city council's consideration.
Okay. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, there's a motion, a second.
Could I interject before you vote on this particular item?
Sure.
All right. Thank you for indulging me. My proposal would be to, at a future meeting, bring back kind of the model tobacco retail license policy, if you were to do this, and then basically run through it with the full council and say, these are the range of the topics in the tobacco retail license. And perhaps at that meeting, itemize, we do want you to address signage. We do want you to address a flavor ban, and just kind of run through that as a group. That more detailed level of direction will be what we need to bring back a proper policy, I think, if we were to bring a policy back at all. So that's what I would request and suggest.
With that in mind, Mayor, I'd like to amend my motion to direct staff to bring back a model ordinance for our consideration and prioritization for a draft ordinance.
Second.
Ordinance.
That's excellent guidance.
Okay, so that's a second and a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Okay. Do we have any public comment on this motion or the discussion? Okay, seeing none. Clerk, please poll the vote.
Councilmember Altman,
Yes.
Councilmember INSCORE,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Wright,
Yes.
and Mayor Greenough.
No. All right. We will have this discussion further.